Georgia. But now, 2024, a lot of questions have been determined. And back in 2016, after the crazy election, a lot of questions were announced about who the Democrats were going to run. Talks where Michelle Obama was one of them, Joe Biden was one of them, and other senators who were key, like Bernie Sanders and other senators who weren't really nationally known. But this time around, a lot of questions are already going into 2024. So, I have Ballotopedia, which is brought up, and we're going to go to the Democrats first on this list.
Right. Now, presumably, perfect world, Joe Biden runs for re-election. However, we don't live in a perfect world. A lot of things can happen now, especially at Joe's age.
Yes, Joe Biden is currently 78 years old. He is the oldest president right now. And in 2024, he'll be, by
82.
election, 81. But since he is born on November 20th, he'll be 82 if he gets reinaugurated. So, because of that, his old age, and a lot of things happen. A lot of people understand that the world usually, 80-year-olds aren't really, sometimes 80-year-olds get a little with health and other cognitive
Right.
abilities. So that's why people are thinking that Joe's going to be a one-term president, but he could segue it to now Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. So I have a couple. I have a list of politicians that Ballotopedia believes could be in the running. So first off, Stacey Abrams. She lost the 2018 governor's race in Georgia. There is a possibility that she could run. Also, Michael Bennet from the U.S. Senator from Colorado, Andy Beshear, Governor of Kentucky, Cory Booker, U.S. Senator from New Jersey, Mayor Pete Buttigieg of South Bend, Indiana,
I think it's.
Andrew Cuomo.
I think it's actually going to be in Biden's cabinet soon, as like his Veterans Administration.
Yeah, him or maybe Tammy Duckworth, maybe.
Yeah, that could be another possibility.
Who else is on here? Andrew Cuomo, Governor of New York. Kamala Harris,
That's an obvious
U.S.
one.
Senator. Jay Inslee, Governor of Washington. Joe Kennedy, U.S. Representative from Massachusetts.
No one likes him in Mass.
Amy Klobuchar, U.S. Senator from Minnesota.
She had some good success in 2020.
Michelle Lujan Grisham, Governor of New Mexico. Gavin Newsom, current Governor of California.
That could be another big one.
AOC, U.S. Representative from New York.
That's going to be a huge wild card.
She'll be a big wild card because I think she'll be just eligible because she's, I think, 30, 31 years old right now, so she'll just meet the cusp. And then you have Governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, and Governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer. And then they also have Oprah Winfrey, who's a philanthropist, and she's really well known.
Everyone knows Oprah.
Oh, everyone knows Oprah. And Andrew Yang, who was a 2020 candidate. So these are the people that, these are some of the potential candidates. So out of that list, who do you think are going to be the three biggest ones?
All right, I'll give you. If we're not counting Biden, I think the big heavy hitters, the three heavy hitters, are going to be Harris, Cuomo, and maybe AOC.
Do you think by then the Progressive Party could overtake the Democratic Party? Because
I think if AOC runs, you could see a similar thing to what happened with Bernie, as to say, hey, here's our outside establishment candidates. I think young people, especially millennials and Gen Z, will show up for her. Definitely. That's gonna be interesting to see because now we're starting to see kind of the decline of the kind of old establishment Democrats, with people like Joe Biden and then Nancy Pelosi. I think AOC is going to be very popular on the coast, but we'll see how she does in Iowa and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's one of the things because Bernie Sanders kind of struggled with the South, and that's what brought Joe Biden back into the picture, which happened this year. And if you really look at it, you you put up a lot of good points in saying like even though AOC might be popular in New York and more like bluer states like California and like New Jersey, she might not be as popular in the Midwest, and that could be a issue. But I mean, 4 years from now, a lot of the things that Bernie was saying 4 years ago wasn't as big. But I think what you said about the establishment and the Democrats is a really strong point in saying that like the establishment Democrats are now kind of being looked at, kind of getting criticized in a way by the progressive wing of the party. And I see that maybe AOC may have a possibility of winning, but it really depends on who she's going to pick as her vice president.
right? If she even has a chance of being vice president. Now, obviously, I for Kamala, that's an obvious pick because, well, she's going to have vice president experience by then. And then there's Andrew Cuomo, who I think a lot of people admire throughout the pandemic of how he, well, despite the nursing home thing, I think Cuomo has done a relatively organized job, but I'm pretty biased as a New Yorker. But either way, I think I'll give Cuomo his props for what he's done. I think he's relatively popular among U.S. citizens. People know who he kind of is.
Yeah, I think that Cuomo, like he was on TV almost every day during the pandemic, but are people going to forget that in 4 years?
I mean, we'll see how he does as governor the 4 years he has left of New York if he does decide to run. That's gonna be a big thing if whether or not he decides to run or not.
Yes, and who do you think he's going to like maybe align himself with if he was going to? Do you think he's going to align himself with maybe a like a Gretchen Whitmer or an Amy Klobuchar or like
I
Cory
think
Booker?
it's interesting to see because there have been times where Cuomo, I mean, he's worked under the Clinton administration, but there have been times where, like for example, here in New York, our tuition is covered, and he partnered up with Bernie with that. I think I think Klobuchar will be an interesting person if he were to pick a vice president. Booker will be another option.
Yes, I think that maybe the moderate, maybe more moderate for him.
Right. He won. I think that's how he's going to get the vote if he
Now,
has more moderates.
now let's go over to the Republican side of things. There are
We're going to
some
have a lot.
We have a lot, but I'll just list them off really quick. So Greg Abbott, governor of Texas. You have Tom Cotton, U.S. senator from Arkansas. Ted Cruz, senator from Texas. Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida. Mike DeWine, governor of Ohio. Nikki Haley, former ambassador to the UN. She's from South Carolina. You have Larry Hogan, governor of Maryland. Josh Hawley, U.S. senator from Missouri. Mike Lee, U.S. senator from Utah. uh, Mike Pence, who's the former vice president, Mike Pompeo, who's current Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, U.S. Senator from Florida, Ben Sasse, U.S. Senator from Nebraska, Rick Scott, U.S. Senator from Florida, Tim Scott, U.S. Senator from South Carolina, and President Trump right now. And then you have also some business executives, and you have Donald Trump Jr., Ivanka Trump, and Fox News host Tucker Carlson. So out of that list right here, let's say that Trump says, you know what, I'm not going to run again. Who do you think, out of the politicians I listed, under ignoring the Trump family and Tucker, who do you think out of that list has the best possibility?
Ooh, that's tough because I'm very tempted to throw Trump Jr. as a strong chance of being nominated. I think even Ivanka as well. Hell, I'll throw in Eric as well.
How about a politician, though?
Politician wise, let's see here. Tom Khan, I can potentially see. I'm not sure. Maybe Ted Cruz because of how close he got during the 2016 election. He also from Marco Rubio as well. I think I think Republicans want some. Another big one is obviously going to be Mike Pence. Pretty much what's going to come down to is this: whoever aligns most with Trump, whether it be Pompeo, Pence, or one of his family members, I think they're going to have a strong chance of being the nominee for the Republican Party.
Okay, I see that. Do you see, though, maybe like John Kasich or like Mitt Romney trying to steer the party back into line after four
Not a
years?
chance. With how far, I mean, people, I mean, let's get this straight for a second. Unless the Republican Party this whole Trump populist movement absolutely falls off, and the Republicans go back to their, I don't know, hyping up Jeb Bush ways, then I think you're obviously going to see someone that's heavily aligned with Trump. Because I mean, look at all those candidates that were there. They pretty much agree with Trump. The only guys that I could potentially see running that'd be kind of anti-Trumpish are, of course, John Kasich and maybe Charlie Baker.
Okay. No, but do you think, like, after this election, like, let's say the next Republican is maybe Mike Pence, like, he'll be the next candidate who wins. Let's say Mike Pence runs against, let's say, Kamala.
Yeah.
And, or maybe not Mike Pence. Maybe we'll say it's Ted Cruz, because he's one of the more established senators who's pretty much well known at this point. Let's say that either he or Mike Pence are the nominee. Do you see them getting the same amount of votes as Trump has gotten in 2020?
No. Unless there's, well, it's interesting to think about, because Biden got a lot more votes than Obama did. Because Democrats had that urgency to vote out Trump. Biden didn't really have a populist movement. It was just out of the urge of saying, we don't want Trump in office. We don't want whatever he's going to do. Now, with that being said, it's all going to really come down to what Biden does and how reactionary the Republican Party gets to that.
Do you think that the Republican Party is going to have Trump, even though he might not run? Do you think they're going to use him in the future? And let's say the 2022 midterms, do you think they're going to have him go out there to whoever's running? He'll go all across the country and go out there and basically campaign. And
it depends on how close they are with him. I mean, I'm pretty sure if it's someone like Ted Cruz, then I'm sure Trump will give an endorsement. But if it's someone like Pence or Trump Jr. or Pompeo or anyone close within that inner circle, I'll even people like Tim Scott who've worked with Trump pretty well. I mean, he'll be a good asset for them. That's what ultimately comes down to. I think Trump is going to be heavily influential in the 2024 election. And how much effort he'll put into it will decide the popularity of that candidate.
Okay. That's going to do it for today's episode of the Peace and Chaos program. Big Don, thanks for all your insight today. We're going to be back pretty much almost every week now. We're going to be having new videos every single week, or just new audio podcasts every single week. So please check that out. Also follow us on the Peace and Chaos program Twitter. I'll put the link in the description to go follow us and check us out. And also in the coming weeks, we will establish and have our new Peace and Chaos Sports YouTube channel page. So please all check that out. Thank you all again. We're going to be talking about a lot more things to come. So please stay tuned for more. Until then, I'm DJ Eastman. Have a good one.
Peace.